French composer Jean Francais wrote that piece in 1933. His string trio, we heard it from a concert this year in Chicago, a performance by a newly formed group called the Trio Ad Libitum. Elizabeth Fayette plays the violin. On viola and cello, it's a couple of former PT young artists in residence. Jordan Bach playing viola, Tim Petrin on the cello. We're now well into our 2023 season of our annual Young Artists in Residence, something we've been proudly doing since the 1990s, highlighting the up-and-coming generation of great classical musicians, helping them launch their careers. The last several years' worth of PT Young Artists are featured on our website. You can check out their music, our conversations, and some extraordinary videos they made for us over the years. Scroll down to Young Artists on the PT page at yourclassical.org. In a moment, a classical spin on Brazil. You're listening to APM's Performance Today.
Falling asleep.
The British songwriter Arlo Parks sings of her depression. She says it helps.
Getting used to the fact that things don't go to plan and the universe deals you blows that you would never expect and gives you beautiful moments that you would never expect.
Putting mental health into music on the next Morning Edition from NPR News.
Hear Morning Edition from 5 till 8 a.m. on the KENW Public Radio Network.
In the world of classical music, we get to hear the happy results of cultural collisions all the time. Classical and Hungarian folk music from Johannes Brahms. Classical and American folk music from Aaron Copland and William Grant Still. Classical and jazz from Valerie Coleman and George Gershwin. So what do you get when you combine classical, jazz, Brazilian choros, samba, and swing? We're about to find out with a piece written by a Brazilian violinist. He was born and raised in Sao Paulo, classically trained as a violinist. Then he spent 10 years in Paris playing jazz. Well, now he's back home in Brazil, playing with some of the biggest names in Brazilian pop and jazz and classical music. His name is Ricardo Hertz, last name spelled H-E-R-Z, and this is his piece, Mourinho. A piece called Mourinho, written by a classically trained violinist from Sao Paulo, Brazil. His name is Ricardo Hertz, spelled H-E-R-Z. The strings of the Sphinx Virtuosi were plucking and drumming and swinging their way through that performance of Mourinho in concert at the Ordway Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. Ricardo Hertz actually wrote that with a friend of his, great Brazilian guitarist named Yamandu Costa. Let's finish up this hour with just a taste of their duet version of Mourinho. Ricardo Hertz playing the violin, Yamandu Costa on the guitar. That's their duet version of Mourinho. Broadcast of our show is supported by Hint, maker of fruit-infused water with no sugar or diet sweeteners, available in more than 25 flavors, including watermelon and pineapple. In stores or delivered from hintwater.com. I'm Fred Child. This is Performance Today from APM, American Public Media.
If you were to make a list of things you take for granted on a daily basis, you might be alarmed to see just how long that list is. If you're a regular listener to this station, the programming you enjoy every day could very well be front and center on that list. Well, now is your chance to do something about it. Make a contribution right now and cross off one of those items on your take for granted list. Here's how to make that contribution. Thanks.
The website address is www.kenw.org.
I'm Andrea Kissick, and I lead NPR's new climate desk. There are few stories that touch people's lives the way climate change does. Our coverage explores that impact nationally and globally. This year, we're bringing you more climate solutions reporting to look at how we all meet this critical moment together. It really does take all of us. Support the future of NPR's climate journalism by donating to this station right now.
The website address is www.kenw.org.
At 89.5 megahertz, this is KENW-FM Portales, New Mexico, and at 98.7 megahertz, you're in tune with KMTH-FM Maljamar, New Mexico, public radio for Eastern New Mexico and West Texas. We're coming to you from the campus of Eastern New Mexico University in Portales, New Mexico.
At 88.1 megahertz, KENE-FM Raton, 88.5 megahertz, KENU-FM Des Moines, and KENG-FM Ruidoso, 88.9, KENM-FM Tucumcari, New Mexico.
The emotional impact on the soul that music has, it's just pure magic. The fact that I have a chance to channel that magic is just, I feel so lucky, and it inspires me every single day.
That's American composer Michael Abels. From APM, American Public Media, this is Performance Today. I'm Fred Child. Coming up, more from Michael Abels on the unique power of music, and we'll hear from a piece he wrote in 2007, channeling some of that musical magic he talks about. It's called Delights and Dances, on the way from the Chicago Sinfonietta, later in this hour of PT. Ulysses Kay, an African-American composer of the mid-1900s, he spent 4 years in Rome as a Fulbright scholar in the early 1950s. Then he was in New York City for most of his creative life, writing a tremendous range of music right up until his passing in 1995. Here's a set of 3 piano inventions by Ulysses Kay, played by Monica Gaylord. Some echoes of Bach in both the sound and the title of that 20th century American piece. Monica Gaylord at the piano playing three inventions from 1946 by American composer Ulysses Kay. From APM, American Public Media, this is Performance Today. I'm Fred Child. Always glad to have this place where you and I can share music and ideas. Thank you for joining me today. Robert Mano is a multi-talented musician. As a young man, he played jazz piano in Philadelphia. He sang as a member of the chorus of the Metropolitan Opera in New York City for more than 30 years. He's an orchestral conductor and maybe most familiar to listeners here on PT as co-founder and co-director of the Wyndham Chamber Music Festival in the Catskills in New York State. And through all of that, Robert Mano has been an active composer as well. And I'd love to share a piece of his that I just heard for the first time, too. It's a beautiful rhapsodic work for flute and harp and strings, inspired by an etching. And here's how the composer puts it himself. Quote, "The picture evokes an imaginary lyrical landscape of woods and brambles with a castle in the distance where one looks for a sense of arrival. The music is almost like an imagined story in sound." This is called Petit Voyage en Nostalgie, or A Little Voyage in Memory and Nostalgia. Music by Robert Mano. Petit Voyage en Nostalgie, or Little Voyage in Memory and Nostalgia. Robert Mano wrote that in the 1990s, originally for flute and harp and string quartet. The concert we just heard from last fall was the premiere of this new version for flute and harp and string orchestra. Robert Mano himself conducting the Windham Festival Chamber Orchestra in concert in the town of Hunter, New York. That event presented by the Catskill Mountain Festival. In a moment, the magical and soulful power of music. You're listening to APM's Performance Today. You know, as an audience member myself, I really do get it. Sometimes it's thrilling to be impressed by how well a musician is playing a really difficult piece. But in the end, there has to be more to music than that. And American composer Michael Abels says those technical, sometimes impressive challenges in the music, those don't really interest him at all.
You know, the whole goal is that of all the technical things you're doing behind the scenes, you want the listener to not hear those things. Those things need to fall away so that there's just an emotional experience.
Michael Abels says finding the balance between the technical stuff in the background and the emotional journey he wants to create is the most fascinating part about composing.
For me, music is really the only magic left in the world. I mean, we have ways of digitally faking every other art, at least it seems to me. Of course, I use digital technology in my music all the time, but the emotional impact on the soul that music has, it's just pure magic. And the fact that I have a chance to channel that magic is just, I feel so lucky, and it inspires me every single day.
Let's hear an example of Michael Abels channeling that magic. He wrote this piece in 2007. It's called Delights and Dances.
The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a flash flood warning for northeastern Curry County and east central New Mexico, east central Quay County and east central New Mexico, until 1:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 10:31 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area. Between 2.5 and 3 inches of rain have fallen. Additional rainfall amounts of 1 to 2 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. Hazard: flash flooding caused by thunderstorms. Source: radar. Impact: flash flooding of small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, and underpasses, as well as other poor drainage and low-lying areas. Some locations that will experience flash flooding include San Juan, Wheatland, and Bard. This includes the following highways: Interstate 40 between mile markers 357 and 365. Turn around. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Be especially cautious at night when it is harder to recognize the dangers of flooding. Repeating, a flash flood warning has been issued until 1:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time Friday for the following county: Curry, New Mexico.
A piece called Delights and Dances, written in 2007 by Michael Abels. Conductor Mei-Ann Chen led the Chicago Sinfonietta. Michael Abels has gotten a lot of well-deserved attention in the past few years for his movie soundtracks. He recently scored a movie starring Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney called Bad Education. And last year, he teamed up again with the writer and director Jordan Peele, their third collaboration, this time on a film called Nope. Always a treat to hear his music on stage or on screen. Composer Michael Abels. You can hear those delights and dances again on the PT page, where our shows are always archived online as streaming audio on demand for 30 days after broadcast. While you're there, check out the 2022 class of PT Young Artists in Residence, and our 23 class is taking shape as well. Music and conversations and some gorgeous videos from those talented young players. Enjoy all the classical goodies on the PT page at yourclassical.org. In a moment, a musical reflection on an American tragedy. You're listening to APM's Performance Today. We're about to hear a piece of music that was chosen for us by Dr. Louise Toppin. Dr. Toppin is a singer and educator and the founder and editor of the African Diaspora Music Project. This piece is called Two Black Churches by Sean O'Pebolo. It's a musical reflection on two attacks on black American churches at the hands of white supremacists. The first in 1963, when a church in Birmingham, Alabama was bombed and 4 young girls lost their lives. And the second in 2015, a church in Charleston, South Carolina, where 9 parishioners were killed. This is a 15-minute song in 2 parts. It begins with an account of the Birmingham bombing from the point of view of the mother of one of the victims. Those words are from a poem called Ballad of Birmingham by Dudley Randall. Then words by Marcus Amaker from a poem called The Rain. Two Black Churches by Sean O'Pebolo. Baritone Will Liverman here with Paul Sanchez at the piano.
Instead of out to play, and march the streets of Birmingham in a freedom march, freedom march. No, baby, no, you may not go, for the dogs are fierce and wild, and clubs and hoses and guns and jails aren't good for a little child. But mother, I won't be alone. Other children will go with me and march the streets of yes, free. No, Peggy, no, you may not go, for I fear those guns, I fear will
The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Quake County in east central New Mexico, northern Curry County in east central New Mexico, until 11:45 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 10:40 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Quay to 6 miles north of Broadview, moving southeast at 20 miles per hour. Hazard, 70 miles per hour wind gusts and ping-pong ball-size hail. Source, radar indicated. Impact, people and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles. Expect considerable tree damage. Wind damage is also likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings. Locations impacted include Quay, Grady, Ragland, Broadview, Wheatland, Bellevue, Forest, and McAllister. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Large hail, damaging winds, and continuous cloud-to-ground lightning are occurring with these storms. Move indoors immediately. Lightning is one of nature's leading killers. Remember, if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Torrential rainfall is occurring with these storms and may lead to flash flooding. Do not drive your vehicle through flooded roadways. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 11:45 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following county: Curry, New Mexico.
She clawed through bits of glass and brick, then lifted out a shoe. Oh, here's the shoe my baby wore, but baby, where are you? When the reality of racism returns, all joy of racism. Returns. Charleston is doing everything it can to only swim in a colorless liquid of conceit and blind faith. But in the Low Country, in utter rain of ancient tears, suffocating through floods of segregation, when a murderer's gunshots made waves at Emmanuel.
A piece of music reflecting on two acts of racial violence in black churches in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963 and in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015. That piece is called Two Black Churches by Sean O'Pebolo. Baritone Will Liverman made that recording with pianist Paul Sanchez. The second movement of that piece reflects on the 2015 mass shooting at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina, with words from a poem called The Rain, written for this work by Charleston's first poet laureate, Marcus Amacher. His image is of racism as rain, with what the composer describes as, quote, the inability of black Americans to stay above water, a consequence of the flood of injustice and the weight of oppression. That piece is called Two Black Churches by Sean O'Pebolo. Thanks to Dr. Louise Toppin, founder and editor of the African Diaspora Music Project, Dr. Toppin chose that music for us to share here on PT. Always glad to hear your thoughts about the music and stories you hear on our show. You can write to us by clicking the contact button on the PT page at yourclassical.org. I'm Fred Child. It's always a treat to share musical travels with you on the radio, going to concert halls all around the world. And in the spring of 2024, you're invited to join me for a real-world adventure. We will cruise along the Rhone River in France aboard a chartered river ship. Our ports in Nice and Avignon and Lyon will be rich with music and art and history, and we'll cap it off with a couple of days in Paris, including a major concert in the City of Light. World-class musicians will join us on board as well, with music reflecting the places that we're seeing. You and I can share April in Paris and on the Rhone River in the spring of 2024. Details online at publicradiocustomtravel.org. That's publicradiocustomtravel.org. Broadcast of our show is supported by Progressive Insurance. On the road and at home, customers can simplify their insurance needs and protect what's important by bundling home and auto with Progressive Insurance. Learn more about Progressive and bundling at progressive.com. I'm Fred Child. This is Performance Today from APM, American Public Media. Sharon Isbin is a master of Western classical music. Amjad Ali Khan is a master of Indian classical music. Her background is Jewish, his is Muslim. Together, they're building musical and cultural bridges. The Strings for Peace Project on the next Performance Today from APM.
Friday evening at 9 p.m. on the KENW Public Radio Network.
I'm Jeff Gentry with Evelyn Ledbetter at Pledge Drive, and we're talking really fast because we only have 40 seconds.
And I'm from New Mexico, and it's really, really hard for me to talk fast. So.
Well, I'm from Denver, so I'll talk a little bit fast. So you can use our secure server and make your pledge right now at www.kenw.org.
That's right. So this is the end of the evening just about, so you've had dinner, so get on there and help us out.
We have all sorts of great programming here at KENW for your listening pleasure. And the great thing about it is that they don't talk so fast as I was just now.
www.kenw.org.
At 88.1, you're in tune to KENE FM Raton, 88.5 megahertz KENU FM Des Moines and KENG FM Ruidoso, at 88.9 megahertz KENM FM Tucumcari, New Mexico.
This is KENW-FM 89.5, Portales, New Mexico, and KMTH-FM 98.7, Maljamar, New Mexico. We're public radio for the High Plains. It's time now for music out of the night into the morning.
first of our pastorals, and one is by César Franck for organ, which I'll get to in just a little bit, and then, of course, the Pastoral Symphony of Beethoven. But the first pastoral we hear is from Masque et Bergamasque by Gabriel Fauré, and here is the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra.
Ja.
part of the music written for an entertainment in Monte Carlo. It's a work by Gabriel Fauré called Masque et Bergamasque, and from it we heard the Pastoral, and we are not done by any means with pastoral music here. That was a performance by the conductorless Orpheus Chamber Orchestra. Music of César Franck now, recorded at the great organ of Saint-Eustache in Paris. Jean Guillou is the organist, and this is César Franck's Pastoral. Jean Guillou performing at the organ, the great organ of Saint-Eustache in Paris. Music by César Franck, who was a Parisian organist for so many years. That was the Pastorale. Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony in a moment. This Pastorale is by Igor Stravinsky. And Patrice Michaels sings it with Deborah Sobel at the piano. also known as Song Without Words or Vocalese. That's the Pastorale by Stravinsky with Patrice Michaels soprano, Deborah Sobel piano. And that all leads us to the Pastoral Symphony, Symphony Number 6 by Beethoven, the only symphony he wrote in 5 movements, the only symphony which is programmatic. In other words, it depicts extra musical things, such as the awakening of happy feelings on arriving in the country, which is how it begins, then a scene by the brook, merry gathering of the country folk, storm and tempest, and happy and thankful feelings after the storm. London classical players on period instruments, conducted by Roger Norrington.